What's going on?
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding. From the words I spit, so sharp, so freezing, so cold. Behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts feeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on kneeling. Got lust for change, I just love the feeling. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time and I'll still be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time and I'll still be winning. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. It is our Sunday night show, 8 p.m. for the next 2 hours. Incredible topics and guests in and around the field of the paranormal. My name is George Lopez. With me, as always, Mr. Ken DaCosta. And thank you guys for joining us tonight for a alternative to the closing ceremonies of the 2024 Olympics. Ken, I think you won a gold medal once, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
I thought so.
I did. I think it was a sack race or something like that. I don't know. I have to go look back. Where is it? Somewhere around here.
It was a different time. It was a different age.
Sure was.
We are simulcast with kgradb.com/dead air, twitter.com, Global Radio Live. Also right here, if you're listening on kgradb.com, you can also find us on YouTube at Dead Air Nation, on Facebook, Dead Air Full Spectrum. Also, our personal Twitter is dead_spectrum, and we're going to be talking a lot, I think, about Patreon tonight. Also, if you want to become a Patreon member, now is the time to do it. $3. We may be raising that to $30 in another month or so. But we would invite you guys to come on. We did a live investigation last week, which was groundbreaking. It simply was groundbreaking. And, of course, our town hall on Mondays and all the other bits and pieces that we've compiled on there, from investigations to education. I think you guys would really enjoy checking it out. Again, that's Patreon that you guys definitely want to check out. An interesting thing had occurred in a rapid succession for tonight's show to manifest, Ken. We originally were looking for a booking for Scotland.
Yeah.
And things kind of did not pan out because of, obviously, work schedules and the time differences. And all of a sudden, what happened?
Well, what happened is basically, people do work on Monday mornings, and the time difference in Scotland, we were asking a lot of these people to come in around 2 a.m. and talk to us, but they are very, very interested in coming on. So we just put it off on hold, and we'll be revisiting that. But we thought this week, because of the developments in the paranormal community and in the field, that we would finally devote a show to this topic. And we have spoken about this before, usually for about 5 or 6 minutes, because we've decided not to be immersed in it that much, because the world didn't need one more podcast. We recognize that, where we're going to go on in this bandwagon that everyone's on. So, however, the way we looked at it is a number of weeks have passed since this first came out, and there are been a lot of developments, and a lot of comments, assumptions, speculations, rumors, falsities. And that's what happens when people don't have all the information. You tend to speculate. We understand. I mean, it's just a human thing. So we thought it would be a good time to give some folks the opportunity to address some of that speculation. I'm certainly not going to say that all will be revealed, because there are some things that need to remain on the back burner for now. But with everything that's happening, and of course we're referring to the Conjuring House, we thought that we would devote a show to this and try to address some of the comments, try to address some of these speculations, and maybe shed a little bit of light on that tonight. And in doing so, we were fortunate enough to get a lot of the people involved in this that are going to be able to respond as best they can tonight. So I'm looking forward to giving them that opportunity to do so, now that they've been able to maybe step back a few weeks, because the wound was still fresh, a month or two ago. But as people gain a little bit more perspective and can take a breath from it, it's still ongoing, sad to say. But one of the things that I would like to stress, George, and I'll turn it back to you, is we're not going to do a lot of talking tonight. I'm sure it'll get there to some degree, but we're not going to talk about mental health issues and those things tonight, because frankly, anyone who's familiar with this know that plane has landed. And it's something everyone recognizes. Just seeing some of the posts that are originating from the house, from the owner. So this is not going to be one of those instances where we're just going to beat on and pile on to this thing tonight. We want to keep this in a certain direction where maybe some questions can be answered, but we're not going to take an opportunity to, we're not amateur psychologists here. We all know what's going on and we accept it, but maybe take it on a little bit higher ground here tonight, and just, hope that whatever's going to happen is for the best. So
Right.
That really is where we are tonight, folks. And we felt, I know, talking to George, listen, we do a talk show. And if we ask Ben Hansen if he thinks that aliens are being kept by the United States government, or what he thought of Senate hearings about UAPs, those are topics of discussion. And in the paranormal community, here we are with this tonight. And I think that we owe it to you and the show and KGRA to address something that's a hot button topic, that we stayed away from. But here we are, George.
Yeah, I mean, we've been privileged to be able to fill those gaps in between topics regarding this particular location with some fantastic interviews with great guests. Again, you mentioned Ben Hansen, Elizabeth Saint. It's one of the things that we really enjoy is interacting with people in this field. Mm-hmm. And then there are circumstances where the interaction may not be as favorable as what we had the privilege of doing on this show. And so this is one of those topics, and we've got some people who can give firsthand accounts to things that have been going on. It is still ongoing, as you all know, and we are, keeping tabs on it. But this, again, was not something that had been plotted or planned out by us
Right.
over many weeks or months. This was spontaneous yesterday morning. It would be a conversation between
Literally.
Ken and I.
Literally.
And then next thing you know, everybody's like, yeah, there's still much, much more to address, much more to discuss. And we said, we have a platform. Let's go ahead and do that. Before we proceed, Ken, with introductions, want to always ask you guys, please. I see a lot of new faces in there. Hit that subscribe button. Everybody says that on every streaming channel.
But we mean it.
We want you to do it. We actually want you to do it. Same thing with the thumbs up. I see a count of 2 right now. 2 thumbs up. Just click on it. What's it going to take? You move your wrist over, you click on a little bit. But we love that part of it. And, of course, the final part, the reminder bell. Once you subscribe, you will get notifications for all the different shows, including a return this coming Thursday. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, to one of our favorite shows here on the channel. But all that being said, Ken, if you would like to, I don't know if you want to bring them all on at the same time or do individual introductions. It's entirely up to you, sir.
Yeah, what I would like to do, George, with your indulgence, I do have a statement that I want to read to just let everybody know, to preface what we're doing here. And here is the statement. The current owner of the Conjuring House, Jacqueline Nuñez, has been under media scrutiny due to a series of controversies involving her management of the property. Recently, she made headlines for firing an employee based on a claim that the resident ghost there accused him of stealing. This incident has raised eyebrows and brought attention to other disputes with former employees who alleged mistreatment, mismanagement, and unfulfilled agreements. Additionally, there has been backlash from fans following the resignation of key staff members involved in the house's operations. So in a nutshell, that's why we're here tonight, and we're curious to talk to these people, and we're going to just bring them on. First, Erin Bush is joining us, former house administrator and caretaker of the place. Next, Steve Mills, former Conjuring House employee. Corey and Jen Heinzen are with us tonight, former owners. Hi, Corey. How you doing? Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to say.
Turn your phone sideways.
Yeah. We need a nice wide shot. And Cody, Desby, and Story Horse are joining us as well. They are also former tour guides and caretakers who appear to be frozen on screen right now.
They are frozen on screen.
Just letting you know. That's kind of how they looked last night.
Again, it's the spirits.
Okay, so before we start, let's get this out of the way. Cody, Story, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, you're a little frozen. If you want to come back in, that's fine. You're not going to miss much. So it's up to you.
You're ready.
Okay, so I guess there are, and Aaron and I were kind of working on this today because, full disclosure, and I think I speak for George here, we don't really pay a lot of attention to the YouTube videos and the podcasts and the Facebook things. Frankly, myself, if something's posted on Facebook, I will read maybe the first 3 to 5 comments, and then I pretty much get the gist. I don't need to read the next 450 because they're all pretty much going to say the same thing. So some of the things that I'd like to ask you folks about tonight, maybe I'm not going to touch it on everything, or maybe I'm going to miss some things. So I'm going to rely heavily on all of you to, at some point, you've all done this show before. You know how it is. It's just kind of like, hey, I got something to say. That's fine. We don't rest on a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Facts?
Civility. No, listen, it's a show and we handle it like we're talking on the phone. But Cody and Story are going to pop back in. But actually, I want to start with you, Steve. Tonight.
Yes, how are you?
Good. I'm doing well, Steve. How about you? Steve, you got kids running around. So listen, here's what I want to get into with you, right? Let's talk about the barn a little bit.
Yep.
And I want to bring something up here. I really want to get this right. You're kind enough to send this, but this is a statement. The official position regarding the bonfire from the Conjuring House. This was a media statement put out by the owner. And, you know, we'll get into combusting inside a trash bag left in the barn. This was an accident. The fire was not started by any hired contractor. That is the official statement from the Conjuring House from the owner. So let's fast forward to this past week when WPRI Channel 12 here did a story on the current situation. And now we come to this. They, not me, they meaning Cody and Satori, hired a painting hobbyist who failed to read instructions for how to dispose of soiled, highly combustible rags properly. Recklessness and negligence. So, what happened? I mean, there's a couple of questions for you, Steve. Were you suspended for this?
Never. Nope. Never. I got the call the following morning when they said, because there was a few different things that they thought it might be. And then I got the call from Satori and Jacqueline and stating that they believe it was discarded rags. It was a complete accident, not to worry. I don't remember putting rags in the said bag that they said they did. But nevertheless, this is what they said. It was very upsetting. And I was still there, and I told her, look, I don't need to come back there. You know, I'm really sorry. I apologized over and over, and she absolutely said, no, you're part of this Conjuring House family. I want you to stay. It was a complete accident. We have insurance. The insurance will take care of everything. I assure you. And I was employed there for months and months after, and I kept telling her, you know, and not that I saw her a lot. I would say, listen, every time I go by that barn, it kills me to drive by that barn. And she said, it's not, don't worry about it. It was a complete accident. It just happened. And, you know, we'll make it right. Don't worry about it. Yeah. And she hired me to do it. It wasn't, you know, a weekend hacking. She's the one that was paying me, and she okayed all the work. And I saw that. I was pretty hurt when I saw that again. It just brings it all back from December.
Yep, I know, Steve, and it's like you devastated by it. I know. This was supposedly oily rags that I've done 100 times myself, and according to the fire marshal, that's what triggered it. The intense heat generated. Thrown in a bag of sawdust, which, by the way, I helped greatly to generate. Working in there, building shelves for the museum that was to come, and we cleaned up every night. After we left, we never left anything a mess. We picked up, swept up, cleaned up. No intent on anybody's part. I have read a couple of, I'm not going to call anybody names, but saying, I'll bet they started it, you know. So listen,
yeah,
I'm not going to grace that with saying any more than that. But so you were never suspended, you were never fired, you were never docked pay.
Nope.
You weren't hired by Cody and Satori, then I take it. You were at that time an employee being paid by the contractors.
Yes, correct. Yep.
What else did you do there as far as any kind of maintenance other than tours and investigations?
I also cut the grass when it was time. It was warmer, cut the grass, and you know, trying to get everything ready for camping. You know, get leaves out of the way, sticks. Mostly that way. I wasn't on site as a lot of some of the other people here. I was more sporadic. So when I was there, I would help out and do whatever I could to keep the house moving forward.
So he's basically a utility guy, like what needs to be done. Tell me what needs to be done.
Yeah, fixing stairs that are broken and also whatever we needed. Yep.
So, in other words, I'm not trying to be a wise guy, but you're not a grass cutting hobbyist, are you?
No.
Okay. So that kind of, I hope, lays that to rest. So hang around with us because, like I said, if Erin has some things or you have some other things that, maybe you've read, we could bring them up because I'm not going to hit on everything tonight. I want to go over to Jen and Corey real quick, too. For those who are not aware of which there might be 2 or 3 watching us tonight, you had an accusation hurled against you by the former owner that just came out of left field one night. So I know, believe me, and this goes for all of you, I know that this story has been told. My apologies for it. But just to frame it, can you just run through it as quick as you want to one last time? Feel free to say no.
No.
All right, so moving on.
No, she accused us of siphoning money out of her account, just out of the booking site. I apologize, out of the booking site, just out of the blue. And I mean, all this was triggered by us forwarding a voicemail that was left for her from the booking agency on my cell phone. It triggered her to just accuse us of this. It was like,
Yeah.
I don't understand why we would use our own personal information if we were in fact doing this.
Right. So I'm not trying to be a lawyer leading the witnesses here, but I'm not going to lie to anybody who's watching this. I mean, I am friends with all of these people. There are things that I could be killed for if I reveal, and we're not going to do that. But so I don't mean to sound this way, but the idea is you guys at that point had resigned and had nothing to do with the booking agency anymore, correct?
Correct.
But you were the number. They had a problem. Can't get a hold of her, call you.
Yeah.
Right, Jen? You were the number on record. Okay, so Erin, I hope I got these right here because I want to bring up something else. Okay, this may not it'd be the one. Okay, let's
the other one. There you go.
Let's try this one. Okay, so now there's a lot of F-bombs in here and effing emails and F and F and F and this. So I'm going to direct everybody's attention to the second text down. I'm going to find out who is doing this to me and why it was being done to Eastern State Penitentiary. Okay, someone or something is attacking paranormal businesses. Maybe you know something, maybe you don't. I don't know. So basically, and I'll get into something with you in a minute. When I heard this at first, and you guys were doing Jason's show, I'm sitting there going, wait, hang on. If other businesses are being compromised, whether it's Eastern State or somebody else, and when I'm not going to name booking agencies because that's not fair. They might have done nothing. But wouldn't my first or your first inclination be to maybe somebody's compromised the booking agency? Maybe there was a hack. Maybe there's something crooked going on there. Maybe, I mean, I would think normal people at first wouldn't shut all the lights off in the room, be in total dark, and then start swinging, hopefully hitting something. That's what it sounds like to me.
Right.
So why not just, first of all, call the booking agency? And I guess maybe I assume she's been in touch with other haunted locations. So there's something going on here. I don't even know if it's the same booking company. But it seems to me that that was a knee-jerk reaction that hurt a lot of people when you start doing that.
Right. The accusation that came out of nowhere, I think, is what was flabbergasting. No research, no nothing, just accusing us because they left us a voicemail.
Yeah. I've had a couple of instances with myself, namely 3 phone calls with this owner where eventually by the third one, I was really upset at something I did not do. And I told her, your problem is you shoot, ready, aim. You don't call and say, listen, I heard this or I feel this. How do you feel about it? You know, by the third call that had happened, again, these knee-jerk reactions over something I did not do or never even thought of it. I got really pissed about it. The third time was a charm. From that point on, my presence there was, other than to come and visit, if somebody was there and she was away, or to help out if I was asked to help. Never went in the house, just stayed in the staff room, shot the breeze, ordered pizza. I had no interest in doing events, going back there, because, you know, and the 3 times it happened, there's a story behind either one, but nobody's here to listen to me tonight about this stuff. So I'm just saying from personal experience, this shoot, ready, aim deal is an issue. So the next thing I want to move on to with you guys, and a lot of people out there don't understand this, and I'm not sure that I do too, the lien on the property. Okay, that's been a question that's come up a lot when people found out about it. And so maybe you can kind of a little bit of light or straighten people out that really the question is, how the hell can you put a lien on something you don't yet own? So maybe you can break it down as, you know, you the two went through the purchase and sales. How did that even work? And what was the intent of all of that, please?
We had signed
A
a letter of intent that she presented to us, which basically was a brief overview of everything that she was presenting. And as long as we agreed to it, it would basically transfer over to the purchase and sales agreement for Rhode Island. Everything looked good on paper. We signed it. There were no lawyers involved. There was no realtors involved. It was just us and the owner. And
The realtors were involved.
well, they didn't sign it though.
Well, no, but they were involved. It wasn't.
Okay, I apologize. But anyways, ipso facto, geez, swear to God. Anyway, so anyways, we signed that. Well, then we started getting paperwork from the owner, you know, stating her finances, this, that, and the other, and things weren't adding up. And it actually raised a couple red flags for the realtors, the lawyers for that realty company, and stuff like that. And they started raising a lot of questions. And they basically said, okay, hold on, you know, these aren't adding up. Let's just wait a minute. And then finally, they kind of told us, you know, you're not obligated to sell it to her. You know, that is not a valid agreement in the state of Rhode Island. You know, and this is coming from lawyers. This is coming from, you know, people are telling us this, you know, and we still feel horrible for doing it. But at the same time, when you're being told there's nothing wrong with it, there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
You know, especially people in that position, you know, and we decided to go with somebody else that was that really would have done well with the house. And all of a sudden we're told, yeah, you can't even show the house because there's a lien on it.
The day we were supposed to sit down and negotiate with her and go over what we wanted to put in this purchase and sales, it was the day we said, sorry, we're not doing this. So we never sat down with her. Had we done that meeting and said, look, these are the things we don't like about this. This is why we're just not going to choose you. I think the outcome may have been different, but looking back now, maybe not. She assumes that
She was
supposed
entitled
to have the house, so it might not have changed anything. She may have still done the same thing, but us not sitting down and having that meeting with her the day of, we said, sorry, we're going to break, you know, we're not going to sit down and we're not going to have this meeting. She just felt entitled to the sit down, I suppose. And since we didn't do it, she just put a lien on the property. Anybody can walk into the town office and put a lien on anybody's property. Like we could walk in and do it now. Anybody in this room, in this live chat, could walk in and do it now. No, anybody can walk in and put a lien on somebody else's property.
It doesn't make it legal.
Yeah, you'll have to go through the court proceedings. You'll have to, you know.
Because what she did was with malicious intent, and we definitely had a case, our lawyer said, but unfortunately, it could be dragged out for as long as up to 5 years, depending on how long she wanted to appeal. And
We had one court hearing. The next hearing was scheduled to be so far out, and if we had won that court hearing, the lawyers, were like, it's not just winning that, she can appeal it, so she can drag this out for a period of time. And by then, we were just in a position where we were ready.
we were hemorrhaging money.
We were already ready to be done. Like, we were already in a mindset that we were hoping to be back in Maine by Christmas, and it wasn't looking like that anyway. So to look at another 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 years was already like, mentally, we were just done.
And she was in the mindset she was going to have that house one way or another, because
Seems like it.
she was actually the highest bidder on the Lizzie Borden house, apparently. And all of a sudden, somebody else that was a lower bid took it out from underneath her just because they had something in common with the seller. So she automatically had, from what we're being told. So she has that, obviously, chip on her shoulder, if you will.
So, I mean, for people out there who obviously, and I'm one of them, when all of this came down, I'm like, wait, what? But you just explained it pretty much. You can put a lien on anything. And as someone with a real estate background, I'm not suggesting she gamed the system, but she sure as hell used the system because she wanted that. And, you can't look back on it, guys, at this point. I don't think. I mean, there may be regrets, but I don't think a person that's looking at each other right now could have figured this out 2 years or however long it's been that we were going to wind up here. Because from day one, it was always, there's so much to learn. I want to lean on you people that have been doing this a long time, and all the right things were said. And I certainly was like, whatever I can do, which is why I got upset one night that I did something she didn't like, because I would never hurt the house. And I got very upset. Corey had to come kind of talk me down a little bit, because that's just the way I felt. This is like a new era. And anyway, so you guys stayed on. So was that a mutual decision? Did you guys want to stay on there? Your daughter Madison did? Or did she approach you and say, hey, I want, just kind of continuity there? How did that all come about that you guys ended up staying and essentially working the house?
We had agreed in the beginning that we would stay on for a period of time in order to help the bookings transition well, help her get her feet wet, get used to the way, our system was, and that give her some time to adjust what she wanted to adjust. But we had agreed to help out in the beginning just to make the transition easy. Like, our thing is, we've always been for the business, the guests coming in, the people. Like, we wanted her to succeed. We told her from day one we wanted her to succeed.
Why wouldn't you?
Right. We started it. It was our project. It was our baby. We were, we wanted it to do well. We started that way, and it got to the point where Maddie was staying as a caretaker, so I would come with her. So I drove her down and I'd stay the week with her. I wasn't comfortable with her being there by herself, and it really isn't a one-person job a week when you're there alone. Like, it isn't a one-person job for an entire week. Then it got to the point where she had asked if I would stay on to do the admin stuff, the emails, the booking site, and so we agreed upon, payment from there, because I think by then we were 3 months in, and so we just, Corey stayed on to help out when needed in between. It wasn't until Maddie got done where he started doing the 1 weeks, but he'd do some here and there.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so eventually you guys were in the Gang of Seven, where you just decided that we have to leave this situation. And there were a string of events that led up to that. And we're going to talk about that. But Erin, you came in as the next administrator. And you were probably working with Jen on that transition to come in.
Yep.
And this was how it was going to be handled.
Correct.
So, All right, so everything was in place, and then a lot of things started to change from what was a success. And everybody's going to put their own stamp on things. You know, if you own it, I got my way of doing it, you know, totally understandable. But things started to change at some point, the way it was run, the demands of it. So you want to talk about that a little bit, or
Yeah.
that transition?
Yeah, sure. I came on last summer originally and did 3 weeks at the farm, helping with just about whatever, but mainly to help with the camping. So, and then, went up for an event, had done Halloween there before, and I've got a pretty serious admin background, about 20 plus years in law and finance and some other things. But Jen was looking to transition out. So Jacqueline called and offered that to me. And that was probably
November,
if I remember right, November, like early mid-November.
right after Halloween.
Yeah, it was right after Halloween. And Jen was gracious enough to kind of, stay hooked in with me. So, because of course there's a lot of different moving parts, things to learn. The admin chair is, it's emails, it's bookings, it's, booking content creators, it's, checking minors. I mean, it's a whole laundry list of things that you're handling. So she was nice enough to kind of, handle it with me so I could figure it out. But I was only there, it was less than a month, I think, in that particular chair before things really started to shift for us, I think.
Yeah. So make mention of this real quick, because I bring Cody and Satori in on this. So to my knowledge, and believe me, I'm kind of a greenhorn on this. I never worked there. I did a couple of events. I would come and visit, mostly because of you guys, and hang out and shoot the breeze for a while, whatever the case is. When the barn was being reconstructed, and the purpose was to put that museum in there, from my understanding is the town or the state, it didn't demand sprinkler systems. She got okayed to do the camping. Obviously she got the occupancy permit. So the town seemed to, all along this process, and there were also some disputes with the neighbors about noise and things like that. And she was kind of backed by the town council. It's just, hey, look, let's keep them quiet after compromise. It would seem like the village of Harrisville and the town of Burrillville, she did pretty good by them, or they did pretty good by her. And I think they did everything in their power to help her succeed as well. I mean, you guys are talking about helping her succeed. I think the town did all they could to make this business solvent, feasible, successful. The same town that's coming under some fire now. So is that pretty much the way you look at it too? Because it seems to me pretty much got everything she wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. There was no sprinkler system needed in the barn, and the town council was very kind to Jacqueline and all of us. Satori and I went to at least one meeting for when they were trying to approve camping, and everyone was very kind and understanding, and yeah, very nice group of people.
Yeah, I think, and the thing is, we had conversations along the way. Hey, good news. We don't have to get a sprinkler system. They're not busting our balls about that, and it's like, great, good for you guys. That they're saying about $50,000 or $60,000 for that right now, And I'm making this point only because a lot of the people she's railing at went above and beyond to help her. Whether that's you as individuals, town of Harrisville, the town council of Burrillville, whoever it was, the same people coming under fire right now. So now I'm going to torch you two guys with some things that I've heard, Cody and Satori. Okay, so you guys did a couple of seasons of Ghost Hunters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're doing your method on TV 2 or 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you guys would do episodes. Great, wonderful. Everybody's just blown away. We all know how we all feel about it. And, you know, we're going to die on that hill because we know better. And that's fine. Regardless of what you think, this is not a symposium on any kind of method. But eventually you got to do Sam and Colby. Big internet stars, right? Maybe the biggest out there. Question for you. How did you arrive at that decision, and did you do it on anybody's behest?
So we, to put it frankly, we didn't really know we were doing Sam and Colby until Sam and Colby were there. We were told that we were going to be caretaking that week, and we were fine with that. We're used to content creators and things like that. It was brought up to us a couple times, just in like, oh, would you guys be willing to do this at some point? Think on it, kind of that mindset. And to be honest, we didn't really, and I'm not going to say like anything against them. It was just, we didn't really think of wanting to do it. Like, it wasn't something that we were like, oh, we gotta do this YouTube video.
And there was kind of this rule that the owner had made that caretakers weren't really supposed to be in content creator videos. Definitely not, because you have to give them a tour and everything else. And she made it very clear to us that caretakers were not to be in videos.
Now,
Okay. I'm going to stop you right there. Erin, am I doing okay? Like if I was a lawyer? Because I want to call.
Jesus.
I want to call
I
a
was just a
sidebar.
paralegal. I was just a paralegal.
I'm just a paralegal. That's what they all say.
Paralegal.
All right, so I'm going to call a sidebar here with Cody and Satori again. So, in other words, a policy was put in effect at one point that if someone comes on a night that you're the caretakers, that they're not going to do. You're not going to be doing this for them. That was set policy at some point.
And our rule was we couldn't do it at all for guests.
Okay.
unless it was told to us that we should. That was sort of the
Yep.
rule there. It was, we don't do it. It's not while we're working because we're making money working. We didn't want to make money off of it anyway. You know, like, you're not really supposed to do it until it was somebody that was desired to see that, and then we were told to do it.
Why did you feel you had to acquiesce to that request? So in other words, to break it down, what you're telling me is you're not going to do it for the paying guests. The paying guests are going to sign a waiver with prior notice that they're not to approach you to do it. You're not going to do it. You're going to give a tour. You're going to watch after groups like any other caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing this stuff. So what was the exception to that?
I will say, and Ken, you probably are very well aware of this by your past phone calls with her. We were put in some very tough situations that, looking back on, we probably should have walked away a long time ago. But we didn't, because that property is definitely a magical place. It's a beautiful piece of property, and we love interacting with guests. And you know, that was the only thing we were really doing at that point. I mean, Satori and I were staying on at that house longer than pretty much any caretaker that, you know, while we were working there. We were there 2 weeks out of the month. Most caretakers did 1 week out of the month. So that was a big, huge portion of our lives that we would have had to have walked away from. Should we have walked away when this first started? Absolutely, we should have. Looking back, we should have, but we didn't. And is that our fault? Yeah. But hindsight is 20/20. That's for sure. And
Yeah.
we definitely were in a tough situation.
Well, don't beat the shit out of yourself on that, because everybody is watching right now, and we got quite a crew. I'll bet a lot of them, if you could go clean pools or you could get paid to go work at the Conjuring House, if you have any interest in this community or this field whatsoever, you're taking that money and you're going to go, it was a job. It was a job. You weren't doing community service. You weren't court ordered to work there. The opportunity was given to you to be around that place so much, to have a lot of autonomy at that place. I mean, you guys were at one point the caretakers. Okay, so what I'm trying to get across is that at some point, and if you need me to back off on this, you were asked to perform.
We believe
In select circumstances.
Yes, we believe that we were, in our opinion, you can make your own conclusions on this. We believe that we were kind of like a show in certain instances, and we didn't want to be. To finish the Sam and Colby thing, again, Sam and Colby, wonderful people when we spent time with them. I don't want it to seem like that's not the case, because that's not what I'm getting at here. But I will say, definitely rewatch the series and watch the beginning, and exactly what you see happening in the beginning, the introductions, that's exactly how it happened. And we didn't know things were being planned without us.
And there was actually another YouTube content creator that came sometime before Sam and Colby, and we were kind of thrown into the same situation. I'm not going to mention their name because, frankly, I don't remember it, but very well-known content creator. And
apparently not.
and we were thrown into the same situation there. And
I think we showed up for a pizza party and a meeting that night.
Yeah. Usually we found out the same time as you're seeing on camera that we were supposed to be doing something. And we have to kind of tiptoe around our words a little bit on what we say here, because none of us wants to.
Just anytime you say no comment, I'm fine. We'll move on.
No, not Project Fear. I see somebody asking about that. It was not Project Fear.
No, and they're great people too. They're really, really great people. Everybody we worked with is great people. But yeah, we learned from previous situations that we would be put in a very tough situation if we didn't comply with what was asked of us. I'll put it.
That's fair enough. Let that go with that.
The show.
Corey can speak to what he wants to, what he's
that's
witnessed.
That's a whole nother instance too, if he wants to talk about that.
I'll jump on the grenade on that one, because I was absolutely appalled by it. Like anybody that was there, we were doing a sizzle reel for something, and the owner basically told Cody and Satori, "You will go up and do your method for these people." And Satori had told her like the entire day, "I'm not comfortable doing it right now. I don't feel up to it. I don't feel up to it." And the owner was getting pissed. And she's like, you're going to do it. And basically just forced them to go up there. And then she came down. Satori's blatting and bawling. And, there's other caretakers trying to take care of her and stuff. And the owner's too busy with her little entourage trying to do whatever she wants to do. And absolute bullshit. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I can say that.
No, we're good.
But no, I mean, it was like she just totally abused. It was like, oh, look what I can have them do. Look at this. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I think
just total BS.
The best part about when Corey and Jen owned that house, and I think at least for us, because we were involved with Corey and Jen and the house before it sold, and some of our best memories are during that time when they owned the house, was that we were able to experiment and try new things and show people and have them ask us to try it in different ways and try different things. We had this like completely open door. They would allow us to come in. We felt comfortable. They didn't make us do anything. They didn't make us feel like we had to do anything. It was, if you want to, you can. If you want to try this, you can. The house is yours. And they were just so supportive the whole time. And I think when ownership changed, I believe that completely changed. And it kind of ruined me emotionally, to be honest. That's just my personal experience. It ruined me
Yeah.
emotionally.
Well, let me tell you a quick story, and this is firsthand. This comes from me. This is my observation. Ocean State Paracon this last year. We, as we usually do, go across the street. Very nice restaurant. We have dinner, kind of unwind, have a couple of beers, have a nice meal before we just go. You know, we got through it. I watched you, Satori, get chastised a little bit by the owner across the dinner table. We were all pretty. We couldn't figure it out. I mean, we were just kind of like, what is happening here? What is going on here? And you were getting taken to the woodshed a little bit here because of a TikTok you guys did. That was comedic. It was hysterical. As a promotion to the house, it was funny. It added a little levity, a little bit of humor, get rid of all this, oh, look out for the demons. And apparently she had a problem with that. I assume it's because she thought it was disrespectful. I mean, just like nod your head if I'm going the wrong way, tell me.
It was because of it's apparently was violent, but it was a similar theme to a previous video. So it was literally the same thing as a previous video. So the reason the disagreement came about in front of everyone was because I said that I don't understand, because the last video was the same thing initially, technically, and it didn't go over well.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't she say that there was a narrative that needed to be done first?
Yeah, there was a narrative that had to follow.
It was strategic. Yeah. It had to be a strategic thing. For TikTok needed to be a strategic marketing narrative
algorithm
plan, something.
Yeah, and because it was not what was wanted at that time, and I tried to say, like, I don't understand, it became a disagreement in public.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. It was awkward. Nobody knew what was going on. I know my wife wanted to, because you don't mess with Satori when Donna's around. You know. Okay, so the natural question, I'm going to ask it for the people watching. What happened all of a sudden? We've gone from TikTok, to like, get Sam and Colby in here. What happened? What happened? This sudden paradigm shift into social media here and YouTube and all the rest of this. What happened?
I think, like Aaron said, there was narrative. I think there was a very specific narrative. And I think that it was being put in, I don't know. I think it was strategic. I think things were chosen that a certain person wanted, and that was what was pushed. So I think it was all strategic moves there.
Yeah, I want to wrap this up. We got about 4 minutes, and George is patiently waiting because the elephant in the room has to be addressed too. And I want you guys to make sure, if there's something on your mind, we're going to need you to say, hey, I want to talk about this. Because like I say, I don't choke to death on this all day. I truly do not. A lot of people out there, and I think they mean well, why aren't there wellness checks being done on this woman? Now, just this week, there's videos being put out about how the cops were called to this house. Okay, so guys, that's how wellness checks work.
Right.
Not to be a wise ass or anything, but it's like, okay, why aren't they doing it? And oh my God, I can't believe they did it. Well, that's how wellness checks work. Okay. And understand this before we go to break here. If wellness checks are called, it's not because somebody is trying to bust someone's ass. It's because somebody has a little bit of compassion. Despite everything else, there is still compassion. And well, I'll let you guys finish that thought. But George, I know we got to go to break here. I appreciate your patience. I just kind of wanted to get through some of this. So thank you guys. And there's more to come.
Yeah, we've got about a minute or so. If anybody wanted to interject what Ken just mentioned, I know at one point in time I was watching Steve. I thought he was about to start his For You page. He laid on his bed.
Trying to hide from the kids.
But if
Not
you
gonna
guys
go away.
if you guys want to follow up what Ken just said before we go to break, we've got about 45 seconds here. Maybe a minute.
I know we've gotten that question a lot. We've seen that a lot in the comments, and I think the best way for us to answer that question is we did everything that we could do, that we were allowed to do, and we won't get into anything any more than that. But this was something that this has been going on for a while. This is something we've been dealing with, and we have, people have to remember, we did not discuss any of this at all for months. I think it's a testament to how good we did our jobs, because we were able to keep this out of the public. But we do care about Jacqueline, and we did try to do some different things. And I think that's about as far as I'm able to go with that particular conversation, unless anybody else thinks differently.
No, I agree. I'm with you on that. I mean, we just want to make it aware on here that this isn't an attack. We're not trying to personally attack anybody, any business, anything like that. We're not trying to speak to anybody's mental states. We don't know anything. We're not professionals or anything like that. We're just sharing our experiences, and we want nothing but the best for her. Really.
And that being said, we had no idea what was going on, and we did try our best to get the help that we could. I didn't even say that. We tried we tried everything. We tried a lot.
We did. We did.
Understood.
Yeah. Everybody certainly is entitled to opinion and observation, but certainly not any type of diagnosis based upon what they read, see, or hear on social media. But that tends to be the theme of it. But we are at the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and take our break at this point in time. We'll be back in 3 minutes on our discussion here this evening with our great guests tonight, Corey and Jen Heinzen, Steve Mills, Cody and Satori, and Aaron Bush. You're watching Dead Air Live on a Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. We'll be back right after this.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
As UFO reports come in from around the world, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is there. We continue to explore new cases and build our massive database. We share our information with the world in a number of ways. If you would like to be part of our investigative team, you are always welcome. What could be more exciting than exploring the UFO question firsthand? Join MUFON, find your friends.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hey, Bill, are you there? Producer Bill Forte. ladies and gentlemen. If Bill, you're in the background there, he might have his shirt off, so he's not going to come on screen. But Bill, you could put it in the private chat whether or not we can put a Patreon commercial on our halfway break. And again, Ken, if you want to do a little promo on our Monday show, what we do with Patreon, and then also what's coming up this Thursday, sir.
Yeah, anything we want to do, basically, we put on the town hall on Monday nights. Sometimes we have guests come in. We talk about investigations. We talk about news, current, whether it's paranormal or not. So everybody gets together face to face, and we are able to just have a chat with you guys. Not in a chat room, but actually look at each other, have a few laughs, and that's been a big hit. You know, everybody loves coming in, and we love talking to you guys. Thursday, we're welcoming back a show here on Dead Air Paranormal. It's live from the Haunted Museum with Cody and Satori. We'll be returning August 15th, and
Well,
that is 8:00 so, you know, all us old timers, we get an hour earlier on them, so you can stay up and watch that. And Erin, do you want to? Are we still in the talking stages, or?
Well, I think we kind of batted around a name today, but Carrie Hopper and I are going to be hopping in on the alternate Thursdays for the other spaces where Cody and Satori aren't, and we're trying to come up with the perfect name that kind of appropriately expresses the hot mess that both of us are. But we want to kind of discuss, you know, metaphysical type stuff, you know, kind of going through the spiritual journey, and, you know, talk about rocks and, you know, what a disaster we've been when you're kind of going through this process. So name forthcoming, but we're not quite there yet, but we're working on that. Super excited.
Yeah. So if all goes well, then August 21st. But right now they're going through that. What are we going to call the show? What is our opening title sequence going to be? What are we going to put on? What kind of music are we going to use? Then they've done that.
Right.
But we're excited for you guys that you're going to get to see different things now. And, you know, I'm still up on that cooking show, though, George. I'm convinced we need to do that cooking show.
All of mine is going to be for diabetics. I don't know if it's going to be as interesting as we'd like it to be, but you still got time, I think, Ken, to do some outdoor barbecuing before you guys get into that change.
The only thing I ask is if the show debuts before every show, let me know if you got peanut allergies. That's the only thing I care.
That's it. Welcome back again to the show, ladies and gentlemen. As you see, we've got a wonderful group of people joining us tonight about this particular topic. Of course, Cody and Satori, as you know, Steve Mills, Corey and Jen Heinzen, who have frozen up, so they'll be coming back in a second, and Aaron Bush. This will just tend to happen from time to time. I'm hoping that they will pop back in very quickly, because the direction that I wanted to go with this is certainly involving them also as previous owners. This is a paranormal podcast, so it has to do in and around the paranormal. It's not just about the people in our lives and in this field. So when I go down this road, I need the panel to absolutely understand I'm taking it from the public's perspective and what it is that they are talking about out there on social media, and your takes on this also. And I may give pushback to this on their behalf, because it's something that tends to unfold whenever something bizarre is happening within this field. And what I'm talking about is the potential for spiritual influence on the owner. And, you know, those people who've only related the Conjuring House to the Conjuring movie, and the Conjuring movie, the characters say that the mother was being possessed to do harm to the child. And we have not seen another family since then, not the Sutcliffes, not the Heinzens, and certainly not with the current owner, who have small children living in the house. So whether or not that means there is a attack on the females, whether Norma Sutcliffe dealt with things, I only met her a very brief amount of time. I know Ken had more interaction with her. Was there a bit of absurdity in her thought process? Also, I wanted to ask Jen if there were times on that property where she thought things were not normal within herself. Was that part of the reason, the cause to leave? Again, I'm asking this from the public perspective, and then wondering if that's something, because we've been seeing as recently as yesterday, today, where there's posts about having conversations with nature and getting direct responses back on the property. If there is something potentially there, and I know we can all sit there again and try to make a clinical diagnosis to what is happening, but I wonder whether or not we're missing something there pattern wise. So I guess I'll go. Jen is not there right now with
She had a
with
phone
the
call.
with the aspect of are we dealing in any way, shape, or form with spiritual influence that she has been sensitive to, that she's come up against. Um, Now, Cody and Satori, in your interactions working with that place, would there even be a particular spirit, including John Arnold, that might be that manipulative with the living?
Now, this is my opinion. Cody can speak for himself, but I think there's great spirits there. I think there's some spirits there, like when you deal with good spirits, there are some spirits that are just not nice, like they have their own characteristics and attitudes. Do I think anything at that house, in my opinion, is possessing anybody or harming anybody at this point? No, I don't think so at all. And that's just my personal opinion. I don't think spirits are talking to certain people in the ways that there have been statements of, and telling them to do things or to believe certain things or do, whatever you want to call it. I don't think that's happening. That's me though.
My opinion. So, of course, I'm not a demonologist or anything like that, but I have great friends who, do study that. People, multiple people in the field, John Zaffis, the Johnsons, all different people that I'm friends with that, have taught me a little bit about how, this stuff works. And usually there's multiple signs coming in from different directions. There's not just one thing happening. And, that's the answer, that this is something demonic happening or something like that. So, like we mentioned at the beginning, we can't go into every detail that we've all witnessed, obviously for legal purposes and things like that. But in my opinion, if you were to witness everything that has happened behind the scenes, it would be clear in my mind, at least, that a majority of the issues that are happening would not be paranormal. Now, that's not to say that whatever's happening could be influencing, the paranormal could be influencing what's going on a little bit,
Right.
Or reacting to it. But a majority of the issues, I don't believe, are paranormal.
And the house can take a toll. We know that. And the other people here that have worked at the house or lived at the house or own the house can take a toll. It really can. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure how the energy, if you want to call it that, so I don't know how that house works. It does take a toll. But I think, like Cody said, there's just so much that has happened that we don't believe that it's paranormal, or at least mainly paranormal in any way.
Yeah. I see both Corey and Aaron nodding their head in agreement with you with regards to that. I guess, and I understand, again, when it comes to this field, it's just this natural instinct to jump towards something paranormal, going all the way back, may they rest in peace, Mark and Debbie Constantino. I mean, that was the first assumption, that there was some sort of a demonic oppression or possession that created the situation that happened there, and people will jump to conjecture in a lot of these circumstances. What I find interesting, and you guys may not be aware of the fact that I've never visited the Conjuring House.
No, we weren't aware.
Ever. But I do have also a strong connection with that in regards to Andrea Perrin. And Andrea will swear by the fact that when she goes outside, that she can speak to the galactic universe and her spirits, her ability with that. You're now seeing the current owner going outside and speaking to nature, and wondering whether or not there's something beyond our comprehension with what is taking place right now. I'll ask you, Steve, also as an observer who've been there on a regular basis too. Could there be something above and beyond that we are not focused on, that we're not grasping, that may be happening again? And I want you guys to please understand, as I'm repeating these things, it's what I'm seeing on social media, what people are coming back from, getting the views of what's happening out there and coming to these conclusions. So I want to clear these things up one way or the other. Steve, what was your take on this, perspective wise?
I was never a caretaker, so my time was limited with her weekly. I was there for camping, which would be 1 or 2 nights a week. My perspective would be kind of basically what Cody said. I think most of it can be explained as non-paranormal. That's my experience. But again, even though I was there for a while, my time was never as a caretaker, so I wasn't in the house 24 hours a day. So I had very limited time inside the house, especially with camping. I was basically outside. I would interact very little with inside the house during the summer and spring months. But from my perspective, I would say I would be with Cody that most of it is non-paranormal.
Gotcha. And I want to get back to Jen on this. The question I was going to ask you, Jen, was during your time there, again, you have children, but they're not small kids, and they stayed and lived with you. I know they had a couple of experiences there themselves that were, I guess, surprising to them, but nothing even remotely close to what the Perrin family went through. But for yourself, were there times that you either felt that the house was speaking to you? Were you getting messages? Were things, I guess, overwhelming to the point in time just before you left that you were already done with the place?
I don't know if I'd necessarily say that I felt, well, I guess maybe I wouldn't describe it as the house speaking to me, but I guess I do feel like I'm not psychic at all. And I always go by the feeling of the energy and the feeling that I get from it. So I guess in a sense, maybe that is a way of them speaking, but I never felt like I was being threatened or harmed, or like I was never afraid. Andrea prepped us pretty good when we first purchased the house, and bad energy can giving off bad energy, you can get bad energy back. Like we were always told, if you're going to fight, go out of the house, go off the property. So I don't know. I guess
we were outside quite a bit.
I do think that the energy there is very, very powerful. I always knew when we needed a break. I always could tell when Corey needed a break. Like I always could tell when it was too powerful or too strong or too emotional or I went by my feeling for everything. And I do feel like everybody needs a break. Nobody can be there all the time.
Let me ask you, when you guys were still there working with the current owner, was that advice given to them, if it gets overwhelming, get out for a little while? And did she heed that advice or ignore it?
Well, I think in the beginning, she did want a lot of advice from all of us, the things that we experienced, the things that we were told, she was willing to listen to a lot of advice. I think for me, my opinion, what I found frustrating was I think that she was willing to listen, but I also don't think she technically took it in as advice. She always felt like she was, I don't want to, not stronger, like she
knew better. I mean, you're talking about somebody that's been doing this for 41 years.
I just always get the impression that she was too strong for that. Like nothing was going, all you have to do is put up your wall, stand your ground, and nothing can get by you.
She told Aaron when Aaron was getting messed with, oh, just tell him to fuck right off. Just
you're a guest here.
You're oh my God. And I'm like, I lost my
And I'm
mind.
like, what?
You don't do that.
Don't do that.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
No.
You know, and she's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, you don't understand the energy that's in this house.
She was very strong-willed with that, though. Like it was very like, just put up your wall and you demand what you want them to do, and then they'll listen. And it's just like it's not how it works. Like she definitely was willing to listen to advice, I think, but I think as time went on, she felt like she was in control, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Question from chat, dear friend and Patreon member Sandy Andrews. How long would she actually be there at one time, and how often? Anybody can answer that?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it increased. Closer to the time we all left, the time that she would be there would be more.
Usually before that, I want to say for a majority, 80% of our time at the house, which is when Jacqueline owned it, almost 2 years, I would say, a little over 2 years. She would only be there like once a week. We stayed at the house more than Jacqueline ever did.
Right.
If you look at everything in a whole, we were at the house a lot more than Jacqueline, and but towards the end of our time at the house, she was definitely there a lot more. But keep in mind, all of us talk. There was definitely things done that have nothing to do with the paranormal, and she has to own it. I'm going to be completely honest. She has to own it. There's things that nothing to do with the paranormal at all that has been done that she has to own that. And so absolutely 100%. Most of the stuff that's happening here is not paranormal.
Yeah, I wanted to interject something, Joy. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where I think I was making the point that if you looked at the amount of time that was spent in that house, everybody here that we're talking to spent infinitely more amount of time, at least in the beginning, than she did. She would kind of pop in on weekends or call, once a week or whatever, check in. But all of these folks were there sometimes for 2-week shifts, 24 hours a day, handling everything. So the amount of time that they spent there, if the house is going to affect you adversely, and I think I said this too, the house has had its moments. I mean, Corey would be able to speak to that a lot better than I can, as far as the energy of the house, as far as everything, because, I've talked to Corey about the house many times and the experiences there, but I'm not seeing anybody come out of it like wrecked, emotionally just a mess. And I know Erin has some feelings on that too, but I just wanted to interject that in terms of you talking about linear time, total amount of time spent there. By and large, these folks spent more time on that property. So
right. I should probably add, like the times that when we were there, like we were living there, like Corey would be there 3-4 weeks at a time, like without going to get groceries. He would order everything to be delivered, or like,
right.
Or like when you're there for a long period of time, that's different. She wasn't there a whole lot when I was still working there, but as far as I know, she isn't there full time now that I'm aware of. Like, I don't think, like, I agree with Cody. There's more going on than we can blame just on paranormal. Like, there's a lot more to this than that.
The weird thing is when we lived down there, if you wanted to leave, there was always something in the back of your head saying, you can't leave, you got to stay. And I don't know if it was just like, you're worried about trespassers, you're worried about this, you're worried about that. There was something always in the back of your head. So it was like, I can't leave the property for some reason. And that went for me, that went for Bill Brock, that went for John Huntington. Those were the guys that came down, saved our butts numerous times. And they basically lived there with us for the 3 years we were down there.
Right.
And I mean,
For us being there, I think it was more being like protective. It would be like Cody and Satori there for 2 weeks at a time. Like we felt being there, we were more protective of like, you can't leave. What if somebody comes on the property? Like our situation was different than not being hands-on, where, you know, some people aren't hands-on.
Yeah, Aaron, let me throw this in the mix with you. You worked there. The owner, the current owner, to I think to much of our expectation, never had really anything to do with the paranormal prior to purchasing this location.
Correct.
Now, as an intuitive, as a sensitive, you know, there are certain barriers. You go right down the list of the panel here tonight, and everyone has background in paranormal investigating. You know the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, and, you know, in one way, shape, or form, we are able to protect ourselves as best that we can. If she didn't take that initiative, and that, from what I hear, allegedly, that she's now a psychic, that she's now an intuitive, now a sensitive, that things can start to really be overwhelming for an individual not prepared for something like that. Would you agree?
Oh yeah. I mean, the first time I went up there was in June of 22, I think. And I was just there for a day tour. And then I did Halloween weekend. And then I decided I was offered to go up there for 3 weeks. So, I mean, I've never had a job in the paranormal field. Let's go live at the Conjuring House for 3 weeks. And I know about grounding, protecting, the importance of clearing the energy. But like Satori said, the house will take its toll. It'll just wear you out. Number one, it's just, there's a lot to do at that house. Like people think, oh, it's this, glorified. It's a lot of work. You get sweaty and dirty and gross, and it's a lot of fun. But the energy, there's just so much of it. History, and you have fans on the property. There's just I made it a point every time I would go up there after my summer trip, I would leave the house once a day, every day, if I could. Just take a walk, run to the grocery store or whatever, just to get out of it for a little bit. But again, I think a lot of this is intention. And I think, like some of the other people have said, I firmly believe the house matches energy. So for me, I was always very cautious of setting my intention, things like that. But then also Andrea is one of my closest friends. So of course I get a crash course in that house before I even walked in. But yeah, can it affect you? I didn't have any negative experiences per se. I mean, I did have one hell of an experience with a spirit that lasted about 1.5 years, and I'll eventually get into that. Now is not the time for that, but even
you could do it on your new show on Thursday nights.
Yeah, no, this is one of those that I'll probably talk about once and then call it done. But I think even at that, turning kind of morphing into an attachment later, I was able to navigate that without any issues. And Jacqueline and I used to discuss that we came into this field at the same time. I got into it in fall of 2021 when I met Andrea on accident at this place. She was right behind me when she bought the house. So we were like, it'd be good for us to learn together. It's great to be a part of this because we can learn from Ken and his team, Cody Satori, the Heinzens. We were really excited about it. But I've actually got a little bit more time in the paranormal than she does, but it's literally just months. So right. I think it could have gone either way for both of us, but I think energy matching means a lot. And what you're bringing on the property, I firmly feel for and I'm only speaking for myself, I get back what I put into it. I also know when I'm up there, I'm there to learn, I'm there to grow, I'm there to help. That's it for me. I'm not trying to have a power struggle with the house. I'm not trying to be in charge of anyone. I'm not trying to get rid of anybody. I'm just there to respect the place and learn about it. I think that helped.
Cody, Satori, before I turn it back over to Ken, you had something you wanted to address?
Yeah. So the whole reason why Satori and I started working at the house, and like I said, like Satori said, we were friends with Jen and Corey when they owned it, and it was still a big part of the house when they had it. We were there quite often, with our friends and things like that. But the reason why we started working at the house was it goes back to one of the Ocean State Paracons when it was at the casino.
The last one at the casino.
It was the last one at the casino, and Jacqueline had showed up, and we had one of our museum displays set up at Paracon, and she walked over and looked at it and said, "Wow, this is neat.
Where do you plan on opening up?" And we said, at that time we were like, let's go for Salem. Let's go big or go home. Obviously, that's a little too much for us right now, but.
And she says, "Well, I plan on renovating the barn at the Conjuring House, and I think that'd be a great place for you to put the museum. I'm going to make an event space anyway, and you can stay there, for a couple months. You can stay there for a couple years, whatever you want. I'm renovating it anyway, so the offer's there." So we're like, well, that sounds neat. A museum at the Conjuring House. So once the renovation started on that barn, Satori and I started showing up because we wanted to help out. Everyone wanted to help her out, help her get this business off the ground, and she wanted to make this really neat event space for movie nights and lectures and all of this stuff, and eventually an exhibition space for our museum. So since we started being there so much, she says, "Why don't you guys start caretaking?" So, okay, we're here anyway. It'll save me trips back and forth, because we were literally helping out. There was about 4 foot of hay in that barn that had to be shoveled out, so I was down there helping with that, and so we started caretaking, and that's the only reason why we started working at the Conjuring House was because I started overseeing a lot of the construction, dealing with the contractors and things like that, because again, Jacqueline was only there about once a week, so they would come and I would be the one that was dealing with them and overseeing everything. And that's why we were there. That barn was not renovated for our museum. That barn was renovated for an event space for her. And the museum was just an extra thing that could have left at any point in time if we found another location. So that's kind of been a big misconception that's been going around, that the barn was solely renovated for the museum. And that's it, which was not true. I mean, we did not pay for that barn to be renovated. She paid for it. She made the decisions on what things looked like and all of that. We simply were just moving in for an exhibition for a certain amount of time.
And what was in that barn before the fire wasn't the only thing that was considered an object that was in that barn from our collection was a coffin that we don't know is haunted or not. We just, it was given to us. So we had a coffin in there, and it survived, an 1800s coffin. But the rest, all the stuff we lost was sound equipment for TVs, we were going to have ambiance music. Yeah, TVs, velvet curtains, all that stuff.
Electronics, all different things like that.
Tools,
So
lots of tools.
$7,400 of technology basically was lost.
Yeah, not to mention some of Ken's amazing craftsmanship when it comes to shows. So, but I appreciate it. I was not aware of the fact or all the intricacies behind the idea, the concept of the barn. So that's amazing that you guys shared that with us, and I thank you. Ken, back over to you.
Yeah, one of the things that comes up quite a bit is how the parents feel about this, how Andrea feels about this, and I think it's normal question considering the amount of time and the emotional involvement that she has. So Aaron, maybe you want to speak on that a little bit, because I know that you are in touch with her.
Yeah, I think, and we've said this on Jason's show. Yes, she is aware of what's going on. But Miss Carolyn just died, 6/12/24. So currently the biggest thing for Andrea, her sisters, her dad, is navigating life without Miss Carolyn now, which of course, it's their mother. So that is something that we are shielding her as much of this as we can, but it's really, and really it doesn't involve Andrea directly. This is a staff, this is an employee-employer situation. And I think the focus for Andrea needs to remain on her navigating the mourning of her mother. And that's about all we're going to cover on that. But just so that people know that, yes, she is aware of what's going on, but that is not what she's dealing with right now. And so as much as we can leave Andrea out of it, her family included, the better, because they have bigger things they need to worry about right now and take care of. So hopefully that covers that.
Anybody can hear me right now. George, if you want to come back in, my computer's frozen. You can probably hear my voice, but I just want to reboot and come back before we get out of here. So
Yeah, well, you're not frozen whatsoever. We can totally see you here. You
yeah,
might be
it's
frozen
weird.
on
I
your end.
mean, everybody on my screen is like this. So
it's the spirits.
it's okay. We'll go. That's it. I want to go with this right now. So we all know about the things that are coming out of that place right now. I have to ask everybody how you feel about the physical condition of the property right now, because we're hearing about the grass high so animals can live in it, and being one with nature and everything like that. But there's going to come a time that the town of Burrowville can step in on that. It might sound like pie in the sky and some kind of nirvana for animals and stuff, but that's not going to last forever. I'm just curious. I mean, simple question, how do you feel about the physical condition of the property or the way it's being kept right now?
I'm appalled personally, because that's not the way. I mean, it deserves so much more than the way it's being treated right now. Like, seriously, I got friends that live down there, and they say they drive by and they hear sideshow music. That's just what it looks like right now. And it's sad, because the spirits, the house, and most certainly the people that are, coming there to, investigate or get a tour or something like that, they deserve so much better than what they're being treated to. Reading some of the comments, reviews and stuff like that, just some of the stuff that they have to say is just, it's sad.
Right.
It's sad. People, they pay good money, ridiculous amounts of money to go there now, and to be treated the way that being treated, it's.
I do want to also point out that hopefully people understand that this isn't about the current staff either. Like, they are wonderful. Like, we all support them as well. Like, it isn't about trying to bash anybody. It isn't about trying to bash the business. Yeah.
Well, we weren't, and I still maintain, I'm going to stand by this. We're not going to get into anybody's mental health, because again, that plane landed a long time ago. Everybody has their opinion and thoughts on that, and that's all well and good. But just revisiting the property a little bit, I am in that camp where I'm not ready to just say, oh, it's paranormal. But do you think on some level the house and the property can be a trigger for this stuff? I'm not talking about supernatural. I'm just talking about being on that property, knowing the background, knowing the history, that maybe stepping away from it. You guys talked about it. Just taking a mental health break, stepping off, going somewhere, even if it's for a drive, and stepping away. And the reason I say that is we all know how it is. You get back what you put in. I don't think it's a case of the house negatively, imparting itself on somebody. I think it's more a case of somebody who's not in a good place bringing that to the property, which I think, in my mind, from what I've heard and experienced, whatever you're bringing in, that's the kind of place that amplifies it. If it's good, if it's bad, it's negative, if it's positive, if it's happy, if it's sad. I'm dying to know what you think about that as far as the property itself.
I know when I resigned, I actually sent a well thought out letter. Even Jen said, who wrote this for you? Because she didn't think I could write something so nice. And I sent it. And what I got in return was just so far to the right. But it basically came, I'm like, you know, the house is getting a bad reputation, this, that, and the other. She said, and I would read it, but I'm not going to pull it up on my phone. But she said, it's the Conjuring House. It'll make the business. So at that point, I realized it wasn't about the history anymore. It wasn't about, it was all about something else. And it was unfortunate, you know, because we weren't allowed to say anything.
To answer your question, no, I don't think, well, I don't think it has to do in regards to the situations that we've been dealing with. Specifically, I don't think it matters where she is located. So I would say that I don't think stepping away from it made any difference, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, I think some people have trouble with relationships, you know, whether they're socially awkward or what, but some people have transactional relationships. They don't have like emotional attachments to people. It's quid pro quo. It's like, I do for you, what can you do for me? Everything's a transaction. There's no real attachment out there. That might be a little harsh, but I'm just going with my gut on this one and my own interactions. Like I promise, I'm not going to get into my stories with her because we're not here for that. But I've told Cody and Satori this, and I think that it can be applied to a lot of people there. I got the impression that everyone there was an asset to her. Just like, you know, a car, a boat, a house, you're an asset to her. When you stop being an asset, whether that's to say, listen, we really don't want to engage in any of, you know, our method anymore, you know, it's getting, then relationships maybe change. So kind of my question is, did you see that, or am I really going into left field with this?
Well, I want to supplement that, Ken. I want to add to that when you guys answer. If anybody has checked, you know, from the time of the purchase on, including now, whether or not she has a pattern of doing this in prior businesses.
I don't know what we can say on that.
I don't think we're going to touch that one because...
Is there public record about this happening in the past?
It's
I will say you can find lots of information by Googling specific things, I guess. But again, for us, that kind of gets us into the territory of, you know, we can't attest to anything as far as the businesses go in other locations, as far as Boston goes. And it's not really for us to sort of speak on because we weren't involved in any of those situations whatsoever. So in our, you know, this is the second show we've done. Our attempts have always been to try to only speak about things that we know for sure, things that we experienced or things that we have in writing or things that we witnessed. And I don't think it would be fair for us to jump on the bandwagon on a bunch of businesses or whatever she's got going on in Boston that we don't know anything about.
Yes, I agree with that. And to answer the asset thing, I think everybody involved with the property in some way, staff, workers, event holders, everybody brought something different to the table. And I will say that statement is true for multiple different people. Obviously, we can only speak for ourselves there. So we'll let anybody else that wants to get into that, get into that. But you are absolutely right, at least to us. With the idea of if something wasn't a specific result or agreed upon, there was a rift or a situation. I can say, because I have proof of it, documented There were times where, for example, if the information that we had gotten during what our methods that we use and things like that did not match up to what was wanted, there were other theories put out there that were not correct. Also, after people stuck up for themselves, I'll just say this generally, and left sticking up for themselves, it ended up being that person's fake, that person's real, that person's fake again, that person's real again. There's no consistency there, which should also lead people to like kind of draw their own conclusion that this isn't making much sense. There seems to be another narrative there. At least that's what I'm picking up on. So I want to put that out there as well.
Yeah, the last conversation, phone conversation, not the last conversation I had with her. I just chose to kind of ignore it. But the last time where I was really fired up with her, it was about, let's just put it this way. My words out of anger to her was, you do not tell me what to think and what to say. So that kind of thing is, I can just imagine if like money was changing hands, or if you were the boss or something like that. I'm just sitting in my house right now, answered a question that someone asked of me that I wouldn't even say it didn't reflect well on the house. It was just an honest assessment of a photo somebody had put up there. And I just said, yeah, I'm not really moved by it. Taken like with a light right here. You know how those photos are. I'm like, and she called me up to chew my ass on that. And she got the wrong guy, because you don't tell me what to say and think. And that was my final, like, yeah, I got her. I have her number now. It's like, I'm not an asset to you. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I don't care what kind of, ego or boss that you are. It's like, wrong answer. So that was that.
Yep. Can I also bring up one other thing I thought of? Because I know Jen and I have both sort of discussed this as well. Like, I know a lot of people have had a lot of grief about what they assume the video review project was for creating content and getting it through the gatekeeping system, as it were, at the house. I wanted to clarify a couple things. I think Jen will back me up on this. And I can only speak for myself and Jen too in this. When we were doing video reviews, we are not concerned about what you're picking up. We are not touching your evidence. If you get demon on an Estes session, we're not going to tell you what to put in there. The video review purpose specifically was to make sure that the history was accurate. There was a podcast, something I reviewed a while back, and they were very much going down a rabbit hole that was intentionally the wrong story on purpose. And so that's the only time we really ever step in. If you're trying to address something that's just flat out not true, then that's what it was, really more of a parameter to make sure that the history was respected as it was known at the time. We weren't sitting there trying to, get people to take this out, take that out, because it's not the narrative. And it was really, the video review process was strictly for created content, your YouTubers, people that were doing voiceovers, podcasts, things like that. If you were in there just investigating with your group and you took a bunch of evidence, put it out there. Nobody cared. But that's another thing I kept seeing consistently, was that people were like, oh, every video has to be reviewed. No, that's only for content creation, flat out. And we literally just were checking for historical accuracy. Or if you're flinging your camera around filming the neighbor's house, things like that. The neighbors don't want to be on YouTube. They don't want their houses shown. So we're looking more for things like that. It was never about, making you toss what you're getting, calling you out on your evidence. It was literally historical accuracy, protecting the neighbors, and like not banging on furniture, things like that.
We're not calling you on the evidence. The internet will do that for us.
Story.
Right.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, that's interesting, because I didn't know that. Why would I know it? It's not really my business what you go through. But
did I miss anything?
If the purpose of it was to say, no, Bathsheba's not going to stick sewing needles in you, it's right. Like, I good for you guys.
Right.
Right.
The only thing I would have added is what you already added at the end, Aaron. The only other thing was like there were a few people who slamming the table in the basement, and I'm just like, okay, that's not allowed. If you start putting out videos like this, everyone's gonna want to slam the table. It's already cracked. Like, you know, there were certain things like that I felt we were maybe a little harsh with, but we kind of had to be too. We don't want people destroying stuff or doing things that they shouldn't be doing and putting it out there like it's okay.
Right.
Yeah, there were teams that were there. There were YouTubers there that should not have been there.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
I mean, I'll just leave it at that. Like,
yeah.
I think it's also important. It's important to note that this process could have completely changed since we have all left well. So if there's a content creator that is booked to go there tomorrow and sends a video in to review,
I don't know what the process is now.
I know that some rules have changed since we've been there. So I know that things have changed, so I can't speak good.
Yeah.
Is there any other things like that have been kind of misinterpreted or, you know, that are wrong before we get out of here that you guys maybe we've missed up to now? You know, Aaron, if you have something, or, you know, it's a great time to do it.
The only other thing I could think of that I wrote on my little list because I'm OCD and I can't help myself because I have to have a list for everything, is I'm still seeing, and I think it's more people's just misinformation not coming at us, but there are still a lot of people who think we got fired. And I think it's more that they haven't watched some of the other things. So, you know, we can throw it up if we want to. We did
please.
An email that we sent.
My computer is still froze.
I got it.
Yeah.
Do you guys want me to show that again, Cody? Because I know we kind of mentioned that, or do we want to just kind of?
Yeah, you can throw it up there. Yeah.
All right. So I did it in 3 parts. I don't know that we necessarily need to read the whole thing, but just for date purposes. Oh, there it is. So you can see up there, our actual resignation email was sent to someone close to her, which is all I will say. On April 26th with a last day of May 3rd at 11 a.m. So just to clarify for anybody out there that may still think that she fired us, she didn't fire the original 7. The only one that was fired unjustly was Brian. We all clearly, as you can tell by this email, did not get fired. So I just wanted to clarify that. And we detailed all the different reasons, but I don't think we really have to get into that again. If you want the full email, you can see it, you know, back through here if you want to pick it up later, or check it out on the show we did with Jason back in July. That will also fill some holes in if you're sort of new to this as well.
Yeah. And I left back early November, and I left on good terms. I by no means was fired way back then. And Corey texted his resignation to her on February 17th. So we have that as well.
Yeah.
How do you all feel? Because this is a thing in the paranormal. Everybody's suing everybody else, and you know, there's a lot of that in her messages, where, among other things, you know, that have to do with the government, Department of Justice, the Secret Service, you know, and again, you know, I don't want to go there because. Although I will say my sympathy and my empathy is kind of circling the drain now. I'm just being honest, because I was always that guy. It's like I think people are being a little mean to her now, but with things and different developments, it's waning a lot. So how do you guys feel when you constantly hear this? You're going to be investigated. You're going to be sued. You're going to, you know, and there's a big investigation going on right now, and we'll find out, you know, strong letter to follow. You know?
So,
I know.
That got me off guard. I will say that, again, I just want to reiterate, we're only sharing, you know, facts, what we experienced, our thoughts on it. We're not trying to attack anybody, their business. Please do not attack anybody or be cruel to anybody, because that's not what we promote here. I will say that I can't tell you how many times I've been threatened to be sued or prosecuted or told that I have been stealing and that I need to return it, or that my dad was an assassin, or, things like that. All of it just starts to add up. And I'm not really worried about it because I'm not saying anything that isn't true or that we
Right.
have evidence to back up.
Yeah, when we keep saying, we don't want to be sued, we have to be careful in what we say. We don't want to get sued. Are we afraid of being sued? No, because everything that we put forward is 100% honest and true, and we have a receipt to prove it. So we're playing fair. That's all we're doing. We're playing fair. We're only stating things that, we have proof to back up. Is there 80% more of the story that we don't have receipts to back up? Absolutely. And that's stuff that
We have to be careful about.
The way I look, I'm sorry, Jed, a quick point. The way I look at this, I don't think there's any lawyer involved, because if there was, I said this to Aaron today, if there was a lawyer involved, he would, or she would have long ago said to her, you need to stop talking. And that's not happening. So anyway, sorry, George, go ahead.
No, that's perfectly all right. And I would certainly encourage all of you, especially those who are, as they mentioned, a comment section, first time really hearing about all of this and the news, going back to Satori's father's YouTube page, Jason Hawes, and getting more of an insight of the dialogue, the things that are happening, what's going on, all the way back to when this entire panel and more were on Jason's podcast about a month or so back. So make sure you guys do check it out. We are pretty much out of time here for tonight. I thank all of you for being very candid in your comments this evening and being very reserved about it. I know that there's still, as you guys all fear and know, more to come. But Ken and I just felt this would be the perfect venue to at least catch everybody up, catch each other up on what's been going on, and hopefully we can get back to some normalcy, if there's such a thing in the paranormal field, in the next weeks to come. But thank you again, Cody and Satori. Thank you, Aaron, Steve, Corey, and Jen, for joining us tonight. My name is George Lopez, with me, Ken DaCosta. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week. For our Patreon members, tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Town Hall. We'll see you guys then. Everybody stay on the panel there. Stay with us. We're going to take to the end of the show right now. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. Have a great night.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that? I think she's feeling me. Turn it up a few degrees. My